Everyone to the Tools of the Trade live stream. I'm your host, Captain Cole, and I'm joined by my co-host Trip, better known as Crypto ISO on Crypto Twitter. We got an awesome episode for you guys today, with lots to talk about, lots to get into. But before I get started, would you please do me a favor, smash that like button, make us look good for the YouTube algo. Also want to take a quick second to thank our sponsor, Phemex, one of the only non-KYC derivatives exchanges left in crypto. Click the link in the description below to get up to $6,000 in sign-up bonus. Now, the last thing I'll say before we get started here on Tools of the Trade, we are not financial advisors, and this information is for educational purposes only. Welcome to another episode of Tools of the Trade. Trip, my man, how we doing?
Good, man. Good. Just
Good. Back in the arena?
I stay in the arena, but I go to other arenas.
The arena war.
Yeah,
how's the fishing? Catch any tuna?
It was like inshore light tackle. So around here, it's like striped bass, bluefish, and then false albacore are running. But they seem to not want to come near me for the last couple times that I've gone. So it's a bit frustrating. But no, some big bluefish today, some striped bass. We saw a bunch of birds. It's first like fall day where it was like windy, like there was chop in the water, like it was cold.
And so the market's right now, essentially, right?
Yeah. I mean, I covered my short on the boat because I was looking at price after it hit like 27.3 and bounced to the daily open. And I was like, I covered 27.5. Okay. Now it looks like it's going to go to 26.9, but I've been in too many scenarios where like, it's just, you don't cover that and it goes
round trip it.
Yeah. So
exactly. Yeah.
This game right now is like, how do you preserve capital and like make a little bit and stay in the game for in this long bear market? Like if you can make a little bit of money each time and some chop while you're in the chop on the water, then that's a good day. So I don't know.
I like it. Yeah. Before we get into crypto, let's kind of talk about this past weekend, right? The macro, the whole Israel situation. I think that's had a heavy overhang on the markets. I mentioned this to you and a few others in our little group chat over the weekend. You know, we saw the thing with Gainesy trying to leave the airport. And I just knew right then and there, this was like the Ukraine-Russia thing once again. Monday markets were going to be very volatile. What are you seeing with regards to oil, SPX, DXY, et cetera, how we're kind of moving forward into the rest of the week?
Yeah, so, you know, a large part of why I took the trade in particular to crypto was like positioning wise, there was a lot of longs. Everyone was convinced Bitcoin was going to go to 30K over the weekend. I think there was like 6.4 billion in longs. And then, you know, you had those events happen. And then you had this like big collective belief that Bitcoin as a chaos asset was going to go up, which just nothing Bitcoin is supposed to do has happened this year. So it's not going to change now. Right. So the traditional assets that people could like continue to flock to, equities being one of them, gold, fine. The dollar, like right now, the dollar is going down, like we had talked about on the TD9 weekly sell. We talked about how equities were likely going to bottom, and they've continued to go up. We talked about how oil was going to pull back. Yeah, it bounced a little bit on like the weekend over, like on Monday and whatnot. Bond markets were closed, but go look at the Nasdaq and the S continue to push up through their moving averages, while Bitcoin and Ethereum just continue to sell off, right? So I don't know like what the moment or the catalyst is going to be to where that's going to switch, right? Because as right now, they trade in their like a vacuum by themselves, like
completely siloed off from the other macro correlation, right?
Yeah, even with the dollar going down, like we're at 105 or something. It was 107. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so do we just continue to wait for flows to basically dictate how crypto moves, right? So once the positioning gets way off sides, then that's where I guess you step in, right? We're still on a green delta on BTC. Yesterday was interesting with ETH because there was significantly more shorts, and today printed a TD9 buy on ETH BTC at like the bottom of the wedge, right?
Yeah.
Like what's gonna drive the price up right now, right? And as we were just talking about, it's like, well, what if equities make a lower high, right? And the dollar has come back down into a level where it's just a pullback before we go higher. We have CPI on Thursday. The Fed speakers are going to be kind of talking all week. I think minutes is tomorrow with PPI. Look, all this stuff is like backward looking, right? So going forward, like I think what the market is showing us from the equity standpoint is like, even I think it was Lori or one of the Fed speakers who's been really hawkish was just basically talking about how financial conditions have tightened so much that like it's kind of like when that happens, it's almost doing the job for the Fed. Like, are they going to raise more in an instance of when the conditions look like they were when CPI was around 8%, like, and now we're at core of like, I don't know, it was 4.7 or something like that. So it's the market saying like, no, we think you're done, right? And now you have the whole military thing where you could print a bunch of money, get wrapped up in a huge war, and then like, here we are again. But crypto has like no place in any of this. Like, it's
No,
just
of course not.
literally,
It's not a hedge against inflation. It's not a hedge against war, right? It's basically a risk-on asset that is getting hammered right now in the face of uncertainty, macro global uncertainty, essentially.
yeah. So it's like looking at altcoins. Like, I don't even know where to start with those. I haven't really looked at the coin screener or anything. I mean, we can get into charts and stuff, but just kind of like qualitatively speaking about the interest in the space and like how it's acted in the face of all this stuff that's going on, where like it could have gone up and it didn't. That kind of makes it like pretty scary.
Yeah,
I
it's
think,
apathy, right? The market is still PvP. We talk about this literally every fucking stream. The market, it's you versus me versus all our 60 listeners coming in, taking each other's lunch money. This is not an active space where retail is excited to get back in, numbers going up, the mania is back, your hairdresser's talking about crypto. No, they're worried about the price of their milk or their chicken going home. So they're not punting altcoins in the arena with us. So yeah, this is still
yeah,
very apathetic. The market is kind of almost signaling that there's no retail interest, and it's really just driven, like you kind of mentioned, the liquidity. So yeah, you don't step in until you see some over leveraged shorts coming into the bottom at support and saying, hey, this is the area of interest, this is where I want to do business, I see potential for mean reversion, let me step in. Until
yeah. I
that,
mean,
yeah.
it's like you'll get a $400 hourly candle, and you're like, oh, well, is it just shorts covering? Like what? And then it's like, bam, hammered down, right? So
Every time.
ever since 28.6, we can kind of try to, like, I think 26.6 is around the 50-day moving average that we broke above. But like,
Yep.
look at those two moving averages up there. Like let's zoom in a little bit for you guys. Like the 100-day and the 200. Like, I don't know. When I saw this and then price just sit here like this, I was like, this looks like it's going to go higher, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
just coiling underneath, and now it's just kind of
put in
not
a lot
doing
of
anything.
time, right? So because I was pretty bullish. I mean, on just like all of this stuff going up, off of like this break and like looking at the equities when it hit
Yeah,
the
that was a break in market structure, right?
yeah. So here's the thing: you did make a higher high here, like off of this, but like, where's really your higher low? Is it? It's probably here, right?
It's there technically, but it's kind of unconfirmed, right? Like you made a higher high, that is technically the higher low, but I feel like you can sweep that and fill the gap down to 25s.
Yeah. So if we just did like simple fib, right? From that, like this is where I would consider a swing point. Let's just say
Yep,
on
yep,
on
yep.
Bitcoin.
Sure.
What is that? 26K. So here, this is why I wanted like 26.9, because you'd take out all these lows, right? You'd go into the 61.8, like maybe you get here. Now, I don't think you want to rip this, but this is, I guess,
No.
maybe your invalidation off of if you were to take a long, and this is setting up for a potential higher low, but it's only confirming when it goes above this, then like, is this the move that happens? I'm not really actually fully convinced anymore because this is just such a hard rejection up here.
Yep.
Um, and if we look at, like, I guess, yeah, this is, I mean, it's kind of turning down. Look, if it's not going up when the dollar's going down and stocks are going up, it's really not like a great look for
No.
Bitcoin, which was leading the market, as we knew. That's why it was like kind of even a more interesting part of the equation for like potential move in crypto. I mean, I haven't given up hope, because this is liquidity down here. If we look at we can look at the heat maps and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm curious to hear your take on Bitcoin chart.
Yeah, so the interesting thing when I look at the weekly, and that's always kind of what I default to, because people keep asking about the edge-to-edge trade. I harp on this at length, ad nauseum. Basically, says that since we are in the cloud right now, close inside, we have a TK cross, you would target the top of the cloud, which would be like 42,000. Now, everyone's super bullish saying, hey, this is about to happen. But, my caveat was a couple weeks ago, and it still is to this day, Chiku span, right? What is that? It's the current price plotted back 30 periods ago. Before, it was above price. And then that week when we had that move up to 28K, it was inside price. And now it's once again inside price. If you guys can see that, current price is 27.4. Back in Monday, the week of the 20th of March, price was between 29K and 26.6. So again, we're right inside that price. So for me, there's no real active edge to edge because the Chiku span is not trending. Until this is above price, I do not feel confident that this trade is going to play out to here. So in my mind, this is kind of rejecting off the Tenkan-sen. This just looks like it's going to unfortunately fall out the cloud. I'm really starting to once again think 23.6 is definitely on the table, potentially even yearly open, 17, 18K. I take the more bearish stance, especially, after what happened over the weekend with the Israel conflict. I think the markets are setting up to nuke. I think that nuke happens October 14th, this Saturday, right? We get into the astrology schizophrenia. That's coming Friday night. It's Pluto's coming out of retrograde. It's the planet of destruction and what have you. Point being is we nuke Saturdays, low volume, easy to fuck with the chart. I don't see Bitcoin holding in the face of all this, especially if equities have been going up. And we could take a look at the DXY, like you mentioned. DXY pulling back, right? So again, we talked about this last week, hit the mean reversion at 107.11. This is a perfect spot to make a higher low. If this higher low comes back down to here, 104, 104.5, and then goes higher, RIP BTC and all of your alts if this starts moving up and makes a higher high above 107. So I really think that the macro correlation, until the dollar's done ripping, putting in an actual top, not just a local high to put a higher low and go higher, until that happens, I think BTC and the rest of crypto are kind of shed of luck. Mostly because the narrative's gone, right? The BTC spot ETF right now has been delayed until January, I believe, right? So the earliest we're going to see, from a price appreciation standpoint, that the markets come in and say we're forward looking, let's price in this, spot ETF application, is probably going to be December. Earliest maybe November, going into a quote unquote Santa Claus rally. But I just don't see the impetus nor the actual sentiment showing unheard of bearishness. I still see a lot of bullishness on the timeline. People are still hoping for things to happen that just don't seem very realistic to happen. So with all that expectations, I think lower across the board on many things besides some, certain select altcoins. But yeah, that's kind of the BTC take. Should we pivot to ETH and kind of take a look at how things got hammered there over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, let's just take a look at the liquidity because we're on BTC.
Yeah.
So we'll just look at our local liquidation levels, right? Yeah, I mean, we were 3.6 billion in longs. There was more over the weekend, I think, but I think positions posted and whatnot. But so we're it's still a green delta, right? 432 million. I guess I would like to have this on the boat. Just seeing all these green circles.
Yeah.
It's fine. This was the move, I think. Yeah, back up to there. So now it's all right, can this squeeze higher though? Still, just based on this? Yeah, sure. But it just seems like the obvious liquidity grab is below.
It's lower. Yeah.
And so if we just turn on less granular, to try to see if we can look at some of the bigger liquidity pockets. Well, okay, by doing that, you really have to start reaching up here for them. But these
closest one, look at that 25x. So what is that? 27.1, the pink one. Yeah.
27.2.
Okay, so that's your previous Monday low on top, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's also the Monday low. We didn't look at the spaceband things. That was a mistake on my part. But so you get this, you run into here, you have a little bit of a gap. Maybe you're going to do the 26.8, right? We know that this is the 50-day moving average on Bitcoin, which we traded above. So like areas of interest, but don't blindly long, are like basically 27 flat gets you the 26.9 kind of zone, right?
Yep.
And then you're going to be going down into like this area, and we'll look at the heat map because it'll probably show us a little more from the 12-hour and the 7-day, because I know that those were areas like running 27, and then you basically go down to like mid 26s if you were to do it.
Yep.
So we'll look at the 12-hour, run these, and let's zoom in here so everyone can see. Yeah, so I mean, like this is 27.4 right now. Where's
Yep.
price right now?
27,430. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So bottom 20. Yeah, this is your run the 50-day moving average. This is really the zone that I've been kind of waiting, right? 26.9. Maybe you go through here a little bit, but this run of 27K, like you hit a gap down to here, right? So depending what our delta looks like and like sweeping those lows and the reaction off of that, a sweep of 27K seems like it's still probably going to happen. Can you squeeze somehow to 28 and go down? Yeah, sure. I mean, I've seen crazier stuff happen, but if we look at the 7-day where price is, like right here, it is. This is the zone that you would get like the liquidity run we just looked at on the actual liquidation levels. And this still makes sense to me, especially hitting like this right here. Now, how liquidity starts to look up here, like this is what everyone wanted, right? Like this is what everyone wanted to see happen, but we didn't see it. So I think you just have to wait for an exhaustion point where longs really start to get liquidated and shorts are stepping in. This is like pretty much everything that we always do.
Liquidity theory.
Yeah.
Purest form. Yeah.
But the scary part about it is like, if you start really coming into this, that's going to give you your 26.5. But as we know, like 25K is still like way lit up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting you mentioned that. I just want to pivot real quick just to the chart on the 12-hour.
And here's your liquidity up here that we talked about, like, which seems less likely now at this juncture.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like I'm just looking at this from a 12-hour perspective. I see like this giant, descending triangle. Maybe you get sweep of a Monday low, then go up to that, 27.6 part you just mentioned. And then I really think you kind of just break down, the saving grace, like you said, would be like 26.9 sweep or 27 sweep and us holding. But the way I see this, man, I remember from, what was this, mid-September, everyone was looking for like 25.8, 25.7 to like get long, and we got front ran at 26K. I can really see that level being like the actual price target for where BTC is going to go before the end of the month now, especially leading into next Saturday, or this Saturday, sorry, October 14th. Yeah.
Have you looked at a monthly chart? I actually have not looked at a monthly chart.
So yeah, I'll show that in a second. It kind of lines up. Is like this is the last part of like bullishness to remain standing. October 14th, I can see this literally going down on next 2 days. And then October 14th, we literally tap the top. And this is, the Schmiko top of this lower high before, astrology kicks in and we go much lower. 25.8, 25.7 to me are going to be two key areas to see us hold. I'm actually much more bearish than I think Trip is even on the stream right now. I'm really thinking we're about to just giga fucking nuke and everything's going to go down only. But to that effect, let's take a peek at the monthly and just like throw these off for a quick sec. So, this just looks like a very distributive pattern up here. The monthly has no lower wick at 26.9. So, you talk about that 25 or 27K level being run. I just don't see that monthly open or quarterly open getting run just for peanuts to go higher again. I really think this 28.6 is very likely the monthly high or potentially even the quarterly high going into the rest of the year. I think lowers to be expected, 23s, 23.6, like I mentioned, potentially the yearly open. 18, 17K. That's still just what I'm looking at here. I don't see a narrative or a reason from fundamentals, sentiment, even just like the long distribution and short distribution for prices to go higher. What is the catalyst other than the halvening in March and potentially in the earliest a spot BTC ETF gets approved would be January. So, but that, those two dates are literally, 3 to 4 months away apart. So like, what's the catalyst to push us higher? I don't see it. And especially with ETH BTC, we can get into that after, but I just don't see the catalyst to go higher. So I'm, pretty bearish on most things right here.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I'm just saying, like, you could do 27 sweep to 28 and like still end up at 25.6. Like we
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
meaning like and if you
You're
do
playing
get
the liquidity.
like we're just playing the liquidity. Like you'll get an exhaustion point on the high 26s, I think. So all right, let's look at ETH because this one is below all its moving averages still. We came up, we touched 100, right? I would use this like guide. This is my guide here for like ETH, right? This is interesting. 1470 is the 61.8 of like literally the entire macro move. And we know there's liquidity there. We also know there's some at like 1360, but you'd come down and you basically potentially, tap this bottom trend line. And you could say we're like in a channel here and this is your midpoint and we rejected it. Like just kind of
Thursday,
eyeballing it, right? So if BTC does drop, then this most likely comes down into this zone, right? Sweep this. I don't know if you necessarily sweep that. I wouldn't blindly long it, but I would look at this area as like a potential offsides for ETH participants.
for immersion. Yep.
Yeah, and we'll look at the actual liquidity levels for this, but I'm also not like ETH's gonna do better than BTC or blah this reason.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. There's like no reason either should do well. But we did see BTC leading, so it was. I don't know. I think people got excited in just knowing that like when that's a leader of the market, especially after ETH pumped on the futures news, that it rotated to BTC quickly, which was, maybe that's just the hot ball money in crypto doing its thing constantly. But yeah, let's look at ETH liquidation levels to see like if we are sweeping 1500 into that zone, right? This is why this is a big discrepancy between ETH positioning and BTC. There's like 200 million in longs or 300 million in longs on BTC, and then there's almost 3 billion in shorts on ETH, right? Yeah. So this is, like if BTC goes down, you're getting like 1500, I guess, maybe. But 415 to 166, and then you look at ETH BTC right here on a 9. I'm pretty sure this is a TD9 buy. Yeah, it's a 9. And I don't know where we are in the bands, but how far we're at the bottom of the band. Like I said it last stream, just because like this was kind of setting up, like in theory, based on everything that I look at, ETH has the ability to outperform Bitcoin based on indicators, liquidity, and we can look at the liquidity heat maps and ETH BTC like touching this bottom of the wedge, which is like 400 days. What is this?
500 or almost 400.
Whatever it is, right? So either this holds and you get a little bit of bounce, or this literally breaks down and it all kind of falls apart. There's a lot of touches here. And this is not.
I want to touch on that real quick because I know I've been bullish ETH BTC. I did sell a bunch of BTC for ETH, unfortunately, in this yellow block up here from 6.3 to 6.1. This block unfortunately broke. And I can keep redrawing blocks, but I think the more likely scenario is kind of just treating it like a range. you have that diagonal and that little wedge touching the bottom of that. That's fine. I don't disagree with that, but I think this has been in the actual, static range for at least, what was it, almost 900 days now. So given that, I was really hoping this block would hold, but I think this is probably the more likely test, and then rejecting off mid. So this block is no longer valid. This is actually resistance now. This lower block here on the 3-day between 0.057 to 0.0553 is interesting because it lines up with the range low. Like this is the range low from 2021 for the past 2.5 years. Over 2.5 years we've been here. So if price comes down, and you just mentioned there was a TD9, I can kind of see this 3-day playing out. Does it bounce right here? Potentially. But it is coming into this range low macro support, whether that's here at 0.057 or another 2 or 3% down from here to range low at 0.055. I do agree that ETH will outperform, at least on a dead cat bounce. That's not to say things are going to go up only. We're going to mid-range, range high, whatever the case is. But, like you said, ETH's been hammered a lot over the last couple days and week. So to see the reversion on ETH happen first is also very bearish, right? Like if you see ETH pull BTC up and drag it up with us, guys, do not look at that as, oh, wow, alt season, things are going 10x. No, quite the opposite, my friends. You guys are getting baited into getting destroyed by the market makers. When things are being led by not the major, which is BTC, ETH leading the market is always a bearish sign. So yeah, while I see BTC could do like a Monday low sweep, we can look at ETH on a lower time frame, which did sweep the Monday low. It makes more sense that ETH will do the recovery first, which will set us up for a lower high on BTC, only to inevitably nuke, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And again, my analysis and the way I'm looking at the market is just strictly offsides positioning, right? So it's like ETH just has more shorts in it right now than Bitcoin. So if we look at the 12-hour heat map for ETH, here's the bottom 1506, which was the liquidation level that we saw.
You're still on the ETH BTC. If you want to throw back Hyblock.
Oh, here you go. You guys see this now?
Not yet. Oh, there we go. Yeah. You good.
Yeah, so here are your bands, this 1500 level, right?
Yep.
And then this is a bright spot around 1600, 1590. I don't know if
there's
you have
equal highs up there. Yeah, I do.
There. So for the 12-hour, we're just kind of smack in between 1570 and 1550, where price is going to go either way here. We'll see how far it squeezes. For ETH, given the shorts, if this comes down to here and starts to take some of this liquidity, we can look at that on a 7-day. But you said it's already swept Monday's low?
No, it actually didn't. I thought it did. It missed it by $2. I'll just show that real quick. If you see right here, missed the Monday's low by literally $2. Has not swept yet, but it was a good enough buyback that I'm not sure whether you get it or don't. I would probably rather be patient to take longs just because the market looks like shit.
Yeah.
But like you said, that's 1590, 1600 level. These kind of look like equal highs, or this is a poor high here at 1595. That's getting swept, but you talk about the Monday high, that's all the way at 1636. I think a lot of recovery would have to happen on the market side to get back up to this Monday high. We did trade significantly lower from that, broke market structure from that. I don't see this as a positive thing on ETH, let alone BTC from that perspective.
No, and here's your 61.8 that we talked about, the bottom
1470, 1480.
Channel. Yeah, sweep 1500, come into here 1460. Do you get enough people off sides to where you mess around here, the delta flips? But this seems so far fetched up here, it's not even funny.
No, exactly. And that's the thing I wanted to talk about real quick, right? So keep in mind that all this liquidity positioning is literally just retail positioning one way or another. To step in front of a moving train, not knowing whether or not the markets are going to, collaborate with you, is negative EV. So what I mean by that is, Trip keeps mentioning waiting for market positioning to be off sides. Wait until you see something so glaringly obvious that you're just screaming at you, take the long, take the short, take the mean reversion trade. Until then, sit on your fucking hands, stop wasting your capital, and wait for the trade setup to present itself. Because otherwise, you're literally just lighting money on fire in a PvP market that's not conducive to your trading style. I highly doubt that many of you guys have trading styles that fit perfectly with this scalp PvP environment where it's quick mean reversion plays. All your alts are going, plus minus 3, 4, 5%. Are you round tripping that, or are you actually TPing? I will go out on a limb and say most of you are round tripping all of that.
Yeah, probably why I took profit early today. I don't
Better early than late, man. That's just how it goes.
So yeah, I mean, here's your monthly. Like that's the whole zone right there, down to 1440. So,
Yep.
Keeping these numbers in mind for when price gets there, then go check the deltas, then go look at sentiment, then go look at is funding negative, and then try to figure out lower time frame, is there an entry to be had? But trying to catch the knives of this stuff can be just bad.
Brutal, dude.
Yeah.
It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of mental and physical energy.
Yeah.
If you're doing this as a discretionary trader, you're doing yourself a disservice. Go touch some grass, go touch some ass, go get outside, do something else with your time. This is not the market to be going risk on right now. When it happens, when you see it, you'll know it, because everything around you, everything in your jimmies will tell you that, and you'll actually be able to participate. To waste money here, you're going to be very upset with yourself come 2, 3, 4 months down the line when markets are risk on. You're playing into ETF, you're playing into halvening narratives. And it's just easier. So, stop making it harder for yourselves, guys. Simple as that.
Yeah. All right. So we covered macro. We covered how crypto is irrelevant.
Yeah, basically, right. Let's open it up to some Q&A, guys.
Are altcoins even worth looking at?
So I'm going to look at that from the coin screener. If you guys want to talk about alts or have any just Q&A questions, we can kind of just go from there, but I'll just look at the coin screener. So let's say your bias is BTC is bearish. Things are going to go lower before higher. So you want to scalp some short beta to the downside. So what we do here with our, handy dandy coin screener, this is basically plotting which assets compared to Binance Global Long Short are positioned compared to BTC. So anything that is bright red is going to be overly longed, and that is something you might want to consider shorting because the delta reversion or the beta reversion is going to be higher in that. So off the top of my head, I see XRP here is 80% long. NEAR is 81% long. ID is 81% long. DOT and Doge 82% long, and Sheep. So I think that most interesting would be just XRP. I know they had that court thing last week, I think it was, and NEAR. So if you're looking to scalp short on something, if you think BTC is going lower, you would probably look at XRP liquidation levels, which we'll take a peek at. Conversely, let's reset the filter. We're super bullish BTC. Everything's going up only. Markets are great. I don't know how delusional you can be, but good for you. So what we'll put in the minimum color scale is 0, and we'll put the max as 25. So we're looking at things that are highly shorted or overly shorted, and we can expect some sort of reversion. Here, I don't see anything besides, what was this, storage earlier, that is overly shorted. So again, the market is extremely long biased right now, which is terrifying to me just to see that from the positioning point of view. No one's shorting things. So as a contrarian in the market, I see everyone's positioned one way. My gut intuition says let's do the exact opposite and see who wins. So I think we're going to take a look. Yeah, exactly. Let's take a look at some liquidation levels. XRP to start.
XRP.
Yeah.
I saw something about the storage, whatever it was, and it was something about tokens moving to Binance, and there was 20 million in tokens. I forget where I saw it, but I saw it yesterday. So people are short XRP.
No, people are overly long XRP, 80% long.
Yeah, so just based on the delta, which is why we use
the short-term delta. Yep, exactly.
So there's 160 million. I don't know if they squeeze it to here somehow.
Yeah, was it 51?
Yeah.
51. So that would be the weekly open Monday high retest. I like that for a short setup actually. And you play down to the Monday low. Okay.
Yeah, you're probably getting down into sub 50. I haven't looked at a chart on XRP at all.
Yeah, here we go. I got you. Just looking at it from a chart perspective, Monday high is 52 cents, weekly open 51.74. Monday low 48.70. It's kind of just hanging out in between the mid range, or the bottom quartile of the mid range of the weekly open, or the Monday range. Sorry. So to see it potentially do something like, where is this? I just don't know how it goes up though, right? So we're talking about like the squeeze. I don't like shorting into a red delta on either the strip because it's just usually negative EV because you can get squeezed. But if you're going to do that, have at least a higher invalidation. So, if price is able to kind of retest this weekly open or just below, I think that was where you said 51.40s trip for those 25 vectors.
12-hour liquidity heat map's pretty good for it too. I'll show you.
Let's take a peek at that.
So this is XRP. So that would get you those like 50. Yeah, see, you'd be taking all this up here to 50, like just under 51.
Yep.
And then you'd be coming down 48
under the Monday low. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So maybe that's an interesting setup.
You don't even get the 25xers, you get the 50xers because the 25xers I think were 51.76, and you're showing me there that 50 up to just shy of 51. So maybe that's as far as you get.
Yeah, fit like 0.5071, 0.505, 0.507, like some of that. This would get you the tops ones, but you got some gaps here, up here. But if you look at a 7-day on this, it's kind of interesting because I think there's more liquidity higher. Like if this like.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So, because you came into this stuff, right? Which is kind of interesting, and you bounced here a little bit, but you just kept bleeding. And so
that's just support turning to resistance, liquidity or no liquidity. People are starting to short, and I see that from liquidity on top. But I reckon to say that 45 little level there doesn't look too unattractive either from this perspective.
Right, but to your point, and to help people understand, looking at liquidation levels and seeing a red delta while you looked at the coin screener, which is showing you more accurate positioning, so this has continued to bleed probably with red deltas that have been there. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
that's the point to get across. Just because the delta is red doesn't mean you can't short it. But if you check the actual positioning of the Binance accounts, they're still getting long in the face of, they're still getting long in the face of a red delta, even though shorts are coming into the market. There's still a long bias into the entire market.
Yeah. So, all right. So now you guys know your levels on XRP. So if you set your alerts and then.
So just looking at the setup based on the liquidations you mentioned, I don't think you go all the way up to weekly open Monday high. So I'd almost reckon to say the Monday high would be invalidation or just slightly above that.
I would take the bottom wick of that. Like, what's this
one?
Yeah, what is that?
51.35.
You might not even get it. Like
I don't think you do. But that's why I think this little poor high here at 50.60, because you showed that 12-hour heat map that it's kind of like mid 50s up to 51. So if you sweep this, you come up and you sweep this, you get back under. I feel like that's the short to first Monday low, and then potentially lower to that 45 level that you showed on the liquidation heat map earlier.
Yeah, I mean, look at the huge SR flip when you broke down. If you go back to the beginning of October,
Yep.
That block, keep over to the right, or the other way.
Oh yeah, this one.
Yeah, look at that. Like, look at the bottom wick of that, and look where the high was.
Simple.
That's like what typically happens. You don't really come up into those like blocks aggressively.
No, you'll like retest the SR flip, right? So maybe you go above this, maybe you don't, but it's like that's like where you may even put an equal highs, wherever the case may be. That's your SR flip. In real time, you take the short, your invalidation is in some weekly level, Monday high, weekly open, with either of the two, and you play it down. This is a pretty decent, 3.5, 3 to 3.1 risk reward.
I feel like if you run that high and you trade back below it, like you could get super tight. Like,
oh yeah. Once you see it, you could probably, if it like comes back underneath it, that high is the invalidation. Then maybe it's 51 or whatever the case is.
Right. The thing about trying those trades is that, and XO knows this, and we talk about it all the time. It's like you might get 2 or 3 deviations. So like you kind of have to sit there sometimes and just like you're like
wait for it.
It
Take
might
the
be
scratch,
good. Yeah,
and do it again. Yeah.
yeah. So it's a bit harder with those because it's kind of like, and I've talked about this, like you could have used the Monday low last week as invalidation, right? When it
Yep.
came down to 27.1 or whatever it went to, and like you traded above it, and then you got a NFP lick run, and then reversed to like 28.3, and you're like, well, I thought I was playing this Monday low like reclaim thing. It's like, dude, the market's not going to be like, Trip, we got
Perfect
you.
every
It's
time.
above
Yeah,
Monday
exactly.
low.
It really doesn't care about you, unfortunately.
It doesn't
Stop thinking
care.
you're special. The market gives no shits.
Yeah, it doesn't care. But it's like that's the thing about like when people explain these strategies, it's much
More
easier said
nuanced. It's
than,
more
than
nuanced
done.
than that, though, right? The meta
Yeah,
that works this week does not necessarily work next week. This is a constantly evolving video game, guys. To play by certain rules, expecting to extract meaningful edge week over week, day over day, month over month, quarter over quarter, is just
yeah,
plain wrong. You have to adapt or die in this space. This is like one of the most brutal, competitive, cutthroat spaces in the world. Yes, we can make and lose lots of money very quickly, but at the same token, you will continue to lose money unless you venture out the curve and figure out where's my edge and how can I continually refine that edge, because a lot of times you can stagnate and die. And many people refuse to believe that, but that's just how it is.
yeah. So don't get discouraged when trying to do Monday ranges and like it doesn't work the first time, second time, or third time. You just have to. It's almost like a babysitting thing with that stuff though, because you're playing touch like a tight setup where, or you use much looser stops, but the whole game with that is trying to get pretty tight invalidations with playing like a range, which is usually not a lot of like the percentage may move. It's pretty
Yep.
small.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. We can look at more altcoins if people have. No one's really even asking for altcoins.
No. Himanshi asks, how do you guys use any set strategies for scalping? Would be helpful if you can explain those. I'm not generally speaking a scalper. It doesn't
Not a
suit
scalper.
my lifestyle because it's too intense with invalidation and leverage and margin uses, and it requires a lot of brain power. And a lot of the times you are competing against bots who are not discretionary point and click traders like me and Trip. It's less EV. The cost of trading and scalping is actually high. People forget that. If you're trading with leverage and doing 1, 2, 3 minute, 5 minute charts, and you're taking levered positions 20, 30, 40x or whatever the case is, you're having a high cost basis to take your trades. And most
Yeah.
of your trades are going to be losers anyways. And the ones that you win, you will not make up for on the losses, because scalps tend to be, less than 1 hour, potentially 1 hour max trade. So no, I don't have any strategies for scalping. I'm a swing trader. That is my go-to.
Yeah, I'm not a scalper. I've done it and it's unsuccessful. So I realized that.
So
It's too
BNB
much
check.
time.
We can do a little BNB check. If you want to check the lick there, I will check the chart. I don't actually ever trade BNB. People always ask about it. It's just not something that I've ever successfully traded, nor do I want to. It's a cucked coin. It's done by the cartel. It's always has an agenda. When you think you're in the perfect short, that's when CZ says 4 and fuck your shorts. So you have to be very very tactile with how you approach a lot of this stuff, especially BNB though. So just looking at the chart, generically speaking, it's making lower lows, lower highs. It did this little pattern here, is doing this thing here. Is this 3 drives down into, going higher? Potentially. But, this is just a daily chart. We still have Binance DOJ news about to come out, whether it's a fine or whatever the case may be. I don't see a lot of positive upswing, but to trade this one way or another, I'm not sure what your bias is or why you're looking to trade it. What's liquidity look like?
Let's see what the BNB liquidation levels look like. What's the actual price of it right now?
208.4.
Thing like doesn't go below $200.
The thing is, doesn't go anywhere, period, to be honest.
Yeah, that's also true. It's like Matic.
Yeah.
I mean, you have some longs on it. I guess it can go to 204. Like, I don't know. I don't even know how to trade stuff like this. This is just
That's what I'm trying to say, right? Like, why are you spending your time trying to scalp this? Like, what vendetta do you have with CZ or BNB? Are you like a giant bag holder? Because a lot of times when people ask to chart certain alts, is because they're overly emotionally invested in something. To marry your bags is never the right way. Be a profit maximalist. But yeah, 204. What's the bottom one there? 201.8.
So this traded 200 basically, and it got to, I don't know, 200 million in shorts, and then it went up to 211. Everyone longed it. Now people are longing it, and it's, I don't know. Just it looks like it's going to go down if Bitcoin goes down. I guess that's my analysis. Let me see what the heat map looks like, because I do remember 208 was like a monthly thing. Because you can look at, yeah. All right, so let's just go look at the monthly of BNB. See if there's any like actual pockets that we think are relevant.
I feel like we hit one after that.
Yeah, so we did hit one. I was right. Okay. Yeah, so 208. Yeah, it was like 207, and then we bounced. Did we actually go up to 215 on a wick?
Yeah.
What a joke this coin is, man.
But that's why. Like, why are you going to trade this in the $15 range for like what purpose? What are you doing with your time, guys? Explain to me. Like, why you feel the need to trade that?
190. Here's a good example of like hitting some liquidity and then it actually going up off of it.
Yes. Yeah.
But this was a bright spot. I don't know. It just doesn't seem very clear to me. Like what BNB is going to do, knowing it's super manipulated. Here's your range on BNB: 202, 203 to
212.
Well, that's how you can trade BNB if you want to like do small scalp moves on it. I guess that's how I would look at it. Because you're not really going to go below. I guess you could, 203, 212. Okay. Maybe you get that somewhere around there. Because this is your top wick. Probably not going to fill that. You could fill some of it up. So that's one way to look at BNB.
Let's look at Sol. I'll pull up the chart. Sol is an interesting coin, just from if you really zoom out on Sol, and I can actually look at Link after that, just because it interests me. But if you look at Sol, it had this capitulation candle, bottom, back in the range. Is this a retest of mid-range to go higher on the weekly? I don't know, but I do think this is an interesting coin to trade, not necessarily invest or buy or sell or whatever the case may be, because the moves that tend to be outsized, right? So it's like a 23% weekly candle, -3%, -5%. There is some decent volatility on Sol, so I think if you're going to scalp something, this is not a bad coin to just peek at.
Probably still has decent liquidity.
That's what I assume, right? Yeah. So Monday low, 2160, basically. Monday high, 2337. Weekly open, again, very close to the Monday high, just like most coins are. I don't. Okay.
320 million.
Let's look at that. Okay.
What is it?
21.6 is the Monday low. I'd like to see that swept before stepping in. I know the shorts are plentiful there, but I'd like to see the short delta increase just slightly under that Monday low.
21.3, 21.2. That's okay. You're going to get an exhaustion point if you go there.
Yeah. Yep. I can see that. 3. Ooh, that's actually a nice spot. That's the opening of this candle. I'll show in a second.
Let's look at the actual heat maps themselves.
2137. Where's that?
Yeah, I think if you're getting anywhere between 21.3 and 21.4. But yeah, all right. So 12-hour heat map. This yellow, 21.496. You could come down into like 21 flat, 21.2.
Yeah.
And then what? You
rebound up to weekly open.
28, 22.8, 23.
22. Yeah, 23. Probably the underside of these. Yeah. Let's take a peek at that. It's not too bad. Oh, I actually like that. Okay, this actually might be a setup to watch for the rest of the week.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, look at this. Here's another example of like hitting liquidity and just selling
and nothing happening. Yep.
Yeah. I
going
will
down.
say, I
Yeah.
will say though, when you do this, and then you build a delta like shorts in this type of range down here, and you're
Yep.
not. Let's say you sweep and you get back above. This is the low, Monday's low. Then structurally, you might be setting up for something like a move like a move up,
Like a
right?
trending move. Yeah. Yeah. For
Yeah,
sure.
to take liquidity. I don't know what the monthly looks like, but I mean, clearly we came up into the 24 up here. I imagine that the monthly is pretty tapped above because we went to like 34 or whatever it was at one time. Yeah, I mean, this is your exhaustion
Pocket.
point.
Yep.
But like, where do you go from there? It doesn't seem like very likely.
I don't think you break market structure. I think you just stay in the range, right? So just looking at it from that perspective, this is Monday low 21.6. This opening candle where we actually like giga pump to 24 is 21.36, 21.37, and like Trip was showing a mid 21 level down to the low 21s. I can see a sweep of the Monday low, reclaim of the Monday low, and then coming up probably around 23. The underside of these three little fake support taps make a lot of sense to me. Running this high at 2250. So between 2250 and 23, I think that's kind of where you're most likely headed if you're able to reclaim the Monday low. So, given the fact that, there's a red delta, it does look like it could have reversion. I think it would be kind of premature to jump into a long on the first sign of this Monday low being swept. I think waiting for the reclaim once price gets back above 21.6. So maybe the trigger would be, you set the alert for 21.6. The first time it goes down to maybe 23.7 or 21.37, sorry. And then as soon as you get the alert, the price has reclaimed 21.6. That's when you maybe market long and you're setting your stop and validation under wherever that deviation of Monday low is. And then you're playing up to this 23 level. First partial TP here at 22.5 maybe. And then you exit around $23. I think that makes the most sense going into the end of the week at least.
Yeah, here. You're retesting this like kind of price traded through this SR, right?
Yep.
This is your demand. Like below here, it doesn't look really that great, right? Then it seems like this liquidity gets taken, this liquidity gets taken. Like, so you want this to be the potential higher low on Sol, but like this alone right here, I don't know. This doesn't look great, but this is your zone on Sol that would be like area that needs to hold, right?
Yep.
But then,
Yep.
then where are you targeting, and where are you putting your stop? Because this is really like the swing point, 18.
But you're not going to play from 21 to 18 or take that drawdown. I feel like there's much better use of your capital than that.
Right, exactly. So it's like, I guess you'd be playing here. You'd have to find like a low time frame setup to your point on the Monday low type thing.
Yep.
But then you're playing back up to what, like 22,
23, 24 maybe at best, but 23 probably.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna come back up and touch this. To be honest, this is a big down candle on the daily. But
yeah, yep.
Seen crazier things happen. So, this move from here up to here, what percentage is that? Like, Sol just did a. All right, guys.
40% move.
42%. Like,
what more are you looking for here?
Yeah, like this is. I guess. I mean, sure. Yeah, maybe this is your higher low forming, but it's also like, can it do this, and distribute? Because like this is not the best looking thing for the chart. You didn't take this out. This looks like a potential lower high in the making off of these. So yeah, I mean, Sol's liquidity profile is pretty clear, so you know where the pain points are for the longs and the shorts. So I just set some alerts on it. I guess that's all you can do. No use staring at any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like
we'll wrap up with
27.
Yeah, basically 27 450. We'll wrap up with ETF because that was the last chart here. ETF chart not necessary, never selling. Agreed, Pizza Man. Never selling, never read. I think someone asked us about checking the vaults, which I guess we can look at. But just looking at the chart, guys, again, this is a fucking meme coin. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. This is something that's going to be extremely volatile, both up and down. This has been trading, for like a month, 5 weeks almost. Up only, reaccumulation range, then higher, potentially. Zooming in here, I've noticed this. I've talked about it in the Tools of Trade Telegram. Whenever price gets to the range low, buyers tend to step in. Whoever's painting this chart, good for you guys. You continue to buy at range low. Happy to see that. The 0.1 level seems to be psychological support. Whenever price gets to like 16, 17 cents, it tends to sell off. So again, this is a narrative coin. To trade it with any amount of trading is silly in my mind. You bet big, you bet early, walk away. This is a call option on the ETF narrative. I guess we can look at the vault because someone asked us to look at that. So they launched betting vaults, which is, I guess, the utility of the meme coin, meaning that you can, stake or I guess bet your ETF for whatever the prize is. So actually, let me ask Trip this since he's our macro expert. CPI on Friday, Trip, is it going to exceed the projected 3.6%?
It doesn't matter if you're a macro expert, dude. This is like just like flipping a coin. Like,
well, give me the coin flip response. Yes or no? Are we going to exceed 3.6? Or are we going to be in line with expectations?
Let me see here. I'm gonna look up the actual.
My financial future of ETF depends on it.
Core inflation rate month over month. All right, so previous 0.3, consensus 0.3, forecast 0.3. Core 4.3, previous 4.1, consensus forecast is 4.1. Are we just doing the year over year on headline inflation or core? What is it?
Year over year.
Okay, so it's above or below 3.6?
It's either like above 3.6 or not. That's how I'm understanding it. So if it comes in at 3.6, it'll be no. In which case, I want to win money, and I see the potential is a little better than the yes.
I would just take the forecast. There's like very, very, very little like fluctuation in these numbers. Like nowadays, I feel like. What was the last one? Like core inflation year over year consensus previous 4.3 versus 4.1. All right, so take 3.8. I'll take 3.8. So it's gonna go over. It'll be over a little bit.
Oh, you're saying it's gonna be over? Shit. Okay, no, I don't want that then. So you're telling me it's gonna go over?
I'm just strictly going off what the last one did.
Okay, that's fair.
What is this? Basically, it's like last September.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take your little.
Isn't it funny how like just mathematically these year over year numbers are all significantly lower?
Yes,
which
exactly.
Was always going to be the case. And the market has gone up on lower inflation numbers. And then a lot of this stuff gets revised, which is even funnier. Like the last NFP, 330,000 jobs. That's not realistic.
Of course not. All right. So I just put in 10K ETF bet. What is that? Like $1,100 to double my money.
Wait, what do you do? How do you?
I connected my little bet.etf.live, and I just put a little 10K bet into will CPI exceed year over year data on the 13th, and we're going with yes. So I'm going to blame Trip for my financial gain or loss on this one.
So they just launched these
betting vaults. This is the epitome of ETF, Trip. I don't know if you realize that, but this is what we've been waiting for, to bet on the SEC decision.
So the other one was, will the SEC challenge the U.S. District Court of Appeals decision August 29th regarding the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust ability to convert to an ETF by October 13th. So that's in 3 days. So that's Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, I don't know. Flip a coin.
Yeah, I'd rather go with the CPI one. I feel like I have an edge there because I got you on my team.
I mean, this is just like this is fun. This is cool. So these are the only two live ones right now?
Yeah, from what I can see, at least right now.
Then it'll just... look, it's like a easier prediction market type thing. What was that? What was the crypto prediction market thing?
Augur.
Wasn't there one that started with P? Maybe that is
Uh,
prediction markets.
P
I don't know.
Auger. Yeah.
Augur was
No, yeah.
one of them. Augur was one of them. So would you use the Augur token to do it?
I think so. And you got paid in Augur. So very similar in that respect, right? Like you're playing around with the betting vault or the prediction market of real world events. But the one I'm really
So
interested in is the ETF one or the BTC ETF one. I guess that's probably smart though. They're probably not releasing that until I'm assuming closer to January before that next deadline.
yeah, the I guess it's good they mix in the other like kind of macro stuff because there's more of that, and it's just like
This is Gamblify, guys. This is literally Gamblify. What you all
inflation.
asked for years. Here it is in production, right in front of you. What's your, I guess, parting take trip on the
Poly
chart? So you
market.
got
Poly.
okay, poly market. Yeah. Okay.
I knew I wasn't. I knew I wasn't losing it. The chart, the ETF chart.
Yeah. Give a little
Uh,
parting words from you, and then we can kind of wrap up from there.
I think it's interesting how it's lasted 40 days on chain, and it's like in a 20-day
But look at
whatever.
that chart, dude. It's just up only for 40 days. Like, yeah, it's just ranging now, but it hasn't really broken any market structure.
Yeah, that's basically probably why I own some of this, and I bought it here. I bought it like here, so we're still holding our God candle, even though, like, look, what is this? Like, I don't know, man.
Dude, this is literally the Saudis buying every time we get to range low. That's how I see this. This is all a test pump, guys.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, cool. I have some, hold it, and then this might not manifest itself until like the
Closer to
actual
the decision, right?
yeah, and the hype, crypto coming back, maybe a little more. I don't know, maybe like it could. I don't know. It could do this for like weeks. I don't know. This is not something that I'm super familiar with in terms of like the on chain stuff. I would say the on chain world right now is not in the best place. So like the fact that this chart
Especially
actually
with
looks like
ETH,
this.
ETH BTC too, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, just I think you can just look at volumes and participation, and yeah, ETH and Bitcoin alone. Altcoins in particular are not like super in favor, but hey, if it's something that's fun to do in the meantime, as we weather this like crypto bear market that people think is going to end, in a couple months, and it could be honestly another 1 to 2 years. I don't think people think about that.
No, they
Like,
don't. Of course not.
I don't think people think about like the what could really be the end of the bear market, right?
No, of course not.
Hope not, but something to take into account. Parting words.
Parting words, rest
Well,
of the
that was
week.
really uplifting. So let's just.
Yeah. End it with World War III. Israel's about to start. No, guys. This is PvP. We talk our shit once a week. We see what the market's up to. There's not a lot going on, to be frank. This is kind of what the market is giving us. So take what you can,
No.
catch and release. Don't round trip. Be smart. Be wise, and go touch some ass and grass. Like, please, guys, do something with your time. Don't be standing behind the screens 24/7, 365. It's not the time yet. You'll know when it's the time. You'll see the market. Everyone is just complete frenzied. Yeah, then go, post up for 3-4 weeks straight behind your computer. But right now, just not the time.
No, not the time, but it's temporary, guys. But well, let's hope.
Let's hope. Parting words from Devor Cry. There are no dips in Ba Sing Se. I'm gonna start getting some of the ETF hype videos to do as the outro for next time, maybe. All right,
I
guys.
don't know what Boston is, but I'll have to look
Dude,
that up.
we'll discuss it offline. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. It's been fun. Captain Cole signing out. We'll catch you next week.
Later, guys.